Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and once again, welcome aboard the Right Flyer. I know it's been a long time since I've made a little video, but today I wanted to discuss an important trial that's taking place in South Carolina right now. Alex Murdaugh Trial. It's one of those trials that involves all of those things that the greatest trials of a century usually get labeled by. It involves a well-known family. It involves rife corruption, murder, and intrigue. Alex Murdaugh stole from his own family's law firm that went back to his great-grandfather, having been founded in 1903. He subsequently disbarred, had financial troubles from concerns arising from a civil lawsuit that was connected with his son being involved in a deadly boating accident that left a beautiful young woman dead. All of these things the prosecution tried to tie into it to say that he killed his wife and one of his sons in cold blood on his hunting estate, the lowlands of South Carolina, to prevent or to get a continuance in a legal matter. But that's not something that has convinced me. As one who has been a criminal defense attorney before, I know that the most important thing in any criminal trial is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That is the highest burden of proof, and it's on the state because the state is the one that has resources. The state is the one that is representing the victims, and the state is the one that has the greatest amount of time to get a case going. Now, what makes this case all the more difficult is, of course, all of those horrific things that Murdaugh did. He was involved with some other deaths that were unexplained. He was involved with leaving clients that he represented, including one who had been a son of a caretaker at his estate, stolen of all money. And it brings up insurance questions, but there are certain things that shouldn't be allowed to enter into evidence that were allowed to enter into evidence in this case. Under the rules of evidence, 403 and 404, evidence of other crimes that are highly prejudicial, where the prejudice of the evidence that is seeking to be entered into the record is, outweighed by the probative, the prejudice outweighs the probative value that it could offer, it is supposed to be excluded. Yet the judge in this case has been highly permissive on allowing things to be entered into evidence which should never have been allowed to see the light of day in a court of law. And it's tragic to see this sort of thing come to light. It's tragic to see the court operate that way, irrespective of the fact that Alex Murdaugh is one whom I couldn't disagree with more politically. He gave substantial amounts of money to the Biden campaign. He has engaged in graft corruption, and he is one of those who used his power, wealth, and influence to skirt the effects and consequences of his actions for more than many could tell. It's tragic because The state of prosecution in this country today has reached a point where prosecutors are more interested in getting a quick victory without actually having to secure the burden of proof that is placed upon them by our well-established laws. And that is something that should concern all of us. The reason a defense attorney will zealously represent someone is not because they support everything that their client has done. The reason that we zealously represent a client is that we want to ensure that the constitutional right to the presumption of innocence is preserved. Because if the state is one that skirts on their duties of meeting that burden of proof for even a scumbag like Alex Murdaugh, what is to prevent the state from doing that to each and every one of us? The pursuit of justice must always be even-keeled, must always follow the set standards and procedures that exist, because it is the one that has to meet that burden, because we're seeking to constrain the liberty, freedoms of an American citizen. These are things that you cannot ignore. These are things that must be taken into consideration when dealing with all cases, because the United States of America is supposed to be a merit-based society, a society and nation that is unified around a law and not by the individual class or socioeconomic position of any particular individual. Now, yes, it's not, the irony of it is not lost on me that this is something that Murdaugh himself had infringed on countless previous occasions, but it is still imperative that we have the state follow through with the obligations that it has to meet that burden of proof. It is the only way that a fair, impartial system can remain. Now, should the state be able to meet its burden, which up until this point it has not, then I say yes, convict him for murder. Either way, the what is it now? So over 100 plus instances of financial crimes that he has committed is certainly enough to put a man at his age away for life. Wish the state would stop playing fast and loose with the rules of evidentiary and evidence and of criminal procedure, and actually focus on the case at hand. I wish that the judge would basically engage in a more concise and narrowly tailored reading of the rules of evidence and the application of the rules of evidence, so that the efficacy of the trial can remain in place. Because as it stands right now, the trial I've been watching fairly closely resembles much of a circus more than that of a judiciary proceeding or a judicial proceeding. We will see what the outcome is, but I thought I would share just some of the thoughts and concerns of the case overall that I have as a practitioner of law, an officer of the court, certainly not in South Carolina, but one that is interested in these types of proceedings and has practiced now for over a decade. Well, folks, thanks for watching. Be around for the next one.